Hi everybody, my name is Wajji. I'm a fourth year computer science student doing my minor in business. And I come to you today with a problem that I've experienced myself and a problem that's affecting the Niagara region in general. What I'm talking about is addressing the intercity transportation problem in the Niagara region. So now we're not just focusing on public transit, we're thinking getting the Niagara region connected to GTA, to Hamilton, to out in Waterloo, Kitchener-Waterloo area. Now, let me tell you a bit about my experience. First year, I came to Brock University from Mississauga, and getting home was a bit of an issue. So first, I thought about my alternatives. What are there for transportation? There's GO Train, Greyhound, and just newly Megabus, right? So I took a look at Greyhound. I looked at the prices, 28 bucks, one Brock University to home in Mississauga. Now I live on the northwest Mississauga, so I don't live near Square One, I don't live near DC Mall. So Greyhound, I would take 4 transfers. First, from here to downtown terminal, because there's no bus, Greyhound, there's no Greyhound bus that leaves Brock University. So I would first have to take a local bus to the downtown terminal, take a Greyhound bus from there to Dixie Mall, then take 2 more buses to get home. All in all, it cost me 28 bucks, and more than 2 hours for a trip. Second, I looked at GO Transit. And GO Transit is becoming very popular in the Niagara region. We're thinking about bringing the GO Train here, but at the moment, there's no GO Train. So I looked at, what if I take a bus from Fairview Mall to Mississauga? So where that would take me is I would take 1 bus from Brock to downtown terminal, from there to Fairview Mall, from there to Square One, from there to home, right? 30 bucks total trip, 3 hours ride. Next, looked at Coach Canada. Now this was really good because there's 1 Coach Canada bus that leaves on a Friday from Brock University. 26 bucks, retransferred. This dropped me off at Square One, so relatively closer, 2 hours and 30 minutes. Biggest problem with these 3 is Greyhound and Coach Canada, they sometimes oversell tickets. So if I don't have a seat, I have to stand in the aisle. And if the aisle's full, then how do I get home, right? I gotta wait for the next bus and however long that would be. So that's my main concern, is the intercity problem in Niagara region. 3 things: inconvenient, as you just saw, expensive, and impractical. So I'm here to propose a solution, and please allow me to present. Actually, before I go on to that, 71% of full-time undergraduate students at Brock University originated from outside of the Niagara region. That's 12,000 first-year full-time undergraduates. This is just first-year stats, and this is taken from Brock University student data, PDF. So I'm not alone. There's 71% of Brock undergrad students, just undergrad, that have to get home on the long weekend, have to go home for winter break, have to go home for the summer break. So please allow me to present. Sorry. One last thing that I'd like to point out is this is a quote that was taken by Shane Malcolm. He's the president of the Niagara College Student Association Council. And this was an event that was a collaboration event with BUSU and the NCSAC. He says students of today are taking on the ever-growing financial burden of accessing post-secondary education as a means to stay competitive in this job market. The Niagara region is losing opportunities to retain youth talent that our institutions provide each year to other jurisdictions such as the GTA, Hamilton, London, and other areas. Now he's addressing the same thing that I'm addressing today, is the intercity transportation. How do we retain Brock University students as talent and allow them access to other areas where they can go and work, right? So please allow me to present Beep Beep. So Beep Beep is a social experience that connects people with shared interests to where they want to go. It's an app-based platform that helps people find like-minded individuals to share a journey with. So users first start off by signing up using Facebook or Google. We then take their social media information and we build a profile for them on our platform. We build a social media profile for them on our platform. And then we help them connect with drivers with shared similar interests to where they're already going. So there's 3 things that help us carve a niche market in the ever-growing market of transportation. So this is first thing I want to point out is security. So me being a computer science student, I've developed a unique GPS algorithm that we're looking to patent that helps track user journey to the very, very minute GPS coordinates. So if there's an unexpected stop from, let's say you're going from Mississauga to Ottawa, there's an unexpected stop that wasn't scheduled. All the users of the app and all the people that are in the ride will get a notification saying, hey, there's been an unexpected stop. Is everything okay? Then they have to say, no, like there's been a flat tire, or there's been an emergency, somebody's had cardiac arrest or anything like that. In addition, there's also a panic button. So if anytime you feel unsafe, you feel that the driver is driving too fast, you can press the panic button, and what that does is that alerts our servers. And right now we're working with Ontario Provincial Police, we're working with local authorities to inform them that this is happening. And once you press the panic button, we will provide the authorities with live GPS information so that they know exactly where this ride is going. And it's not just from the driver, it'll be from each of the passengers. So I'm fortunate enough that my dad works for the Ministry of Ontario. He works for the Ministry of Transportation in Ontario. And I've been given a chance to present this idea to the Ontario Provincial Police and get them on board, get them interested in having a security feature, because we want to form a trust network with local authorities that they know that this sort of service is being conducted. Second thing is cost effective. I can get from here to Brock University to Mississauga in less than half the cost that it would take me traditionally. And the best thing is there's variable costs. So the more people that ride with me, the cheaper it becomes for me per person. And lastly, the thing that we like to emphasize the most is the social experience. So we do interest-based matches. So you're not just pairing up with a random driver who just wants to bump his own music and just sit there and not make conversation, but you get to match with people that share similar interests. So whether it's music, whether it's movies, whether it's TV shows. Another thing that our platform provides is the ability to create a Spotify playlist before you leave or while you're still on the go. So that way, if you guys share similar music, you can start a playlist, enjoy music together. The next thing is current market demand. So this has already been going on. What I'm telling you has already been going on in segmented markets. So all of this is segregated in different rideshare groups, on Facebook, on Kijiji. What we hope to do is amalgamate all of them into one platform. So allow me to introduce our three-phase program. So our first plan is target Brock University and Niagara College. We have an ambassador for Niagara College, and we have other people in my team are part of Brock University. So that's where we will target first. We'll build a case study that we can then present to. The second phase is the 21 Ontario universities and colleges as well. And lastly, we want to branch out to the general population and most importantly, focus on events. So let's say there's a Taylor Swift concert going on downtown. You got tickets, you're going alone. It'd be really nice to have somebody to give you company. You can go on our platform, post that you're interested in going, talk about some of your interests, and bam, you have 4 more people that are interested in going with you to the Taylor Swift concert. You build, foster, and grow relationships. So the marketing channels that we'll use, mainly social media. So let's say you're going on a ride. We'll give you an option to post on your favorite social media that you're using our platform to go on a ride from here to here. That way, 1, everyone's aware of where you're going. It gives you that sense of security. 2, it's free marketing for us. We're not paying anything. And 3, it gets our name out there. Secondly, we're going to work for our phase 1 plan with BUSU and the Niagara Student Council to pitch this as an offer for students. And lastly, the most important thing is word of mouth. The biggest thing that we want to do is build a trust network. We want people to feel safe using the service, and we do that through word of mouth and most importantly, our security algorithm. So let's talk about our financial model. So we don't call it a financial model, we call it an experience model. So what we do is we take 10% in profit from the total cost of the trip. So let's say I'm going from here to Mississauga. Whatever the cost of maintenance and gas, we take 10% off of that. Then the drivers have a social experience cost. So this is the experience of going with me. So basically, I'm giving you company. So that's a cost for my company. Think of it that way. Lastly is we split the new cost among the passengers. There's a little formula there, but let me give you an example. So based on CAA, they say the average maintenance cost for tires and wear and tear is 5 cents per kilometer. You add that to the gas mileage of an average Canadian mid-sized sedan, which is 8.4 liters per 100 kilometers, and let's say $1 for gas, and you get $13.40. We take our 10% cut, which is $1.34, and the total cost for that trip becomes $14.74. So let's say you have 1 passenger, right? you charge them an experience cost of $3. And then you split that cost among the passengers, right? Let's say you have 2 passengers now. Your experience charge goes up. Why? Because now you're not just giving 1 person company, you're giving 2 people company. And the cost per passenger decreases. So the more, as you can see, the more people that you have on in your ride, the cheaper it becomes. Thank you guys. Thank you the judges. Thank you Enactus for inviting me. Thank you for listening.
Okay, so public transportation in the Niagara region is a huge issue. I've had many talks with Shane about this and actually gave a presentation to the School of Business Advisory Committee in May of this year, and this is one of the issues that I talked about because of the socioeconomic impacts of poor access to transportation in the Niagara region. Now, you mentioned your prices were predominantly based on going from here to Mississauga.
That was an example, yeah.
That was an example.
Yep.
So what do you think, have you looked at that price for the Niagara region on how much it would actually end up costing people to go from, let's say, from St. Catharines to Wainfleet or Niagara-on-the-Lake to Jordan?
Where's Jordan?
Jordan is part of Lincoln County.
Oh, okay,
Outside of St.
gotcha.
Catharines.
Yep. So yeah, I looked into that, and we kind of have like a formula that we use to recommend the cost that's going to cost per passenger. So the formula that I just showed you before. So we're going to use the cost of trip and 10%, but the cost comes from, we're going to charge 5 cents per kilometer, and you're going to enter your car's model number, make, year, etc., that information. And from that, we'll pull your gas mileage, and then we'll average out the cost of gas for, like, let's say a 14-day trend, right? And we're going to plug into Gas Buddy's API, so we're going to use a lot of technical aspects to find that average price of gas to give us the cost for that trip. And then we're going to add on our 10%, that's our cut, to give you your total cost. So this is how it's going to work. So I don't have to calculate the cost of going to Lincoln County from Niagara-on-the-Lake.
It's automatically done.
It's all automatically done. And most importantly, one thing about the financial model is there's also going to be a late cancellation fee. So if you cancel, let's say if a driver cancels within less than 48 hours from departure, they'll be charged $10 as a cancellation fee. If a passenger cancels within less than 24 hours, they're charged a lesser fee of $5. So what that does is it puts the burden on the driver because obviously people are depending on them. So it kind of incentivizes you to go even if when you were not going to think of going. Right?
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. It does. Thank you. Have you considered generating extra revenue from your experience on the coolness of the car or better cars end up giving you an increased experience rate? Because basically if someone's, for a driver to end up having a more expensive car, do you think they should be charging a higher rate for experience?
So at first, in our phase 1 project, we don't want to raise costs just to level the playing field a bit. But once we start generating interest and we expand further, we kind of want to have the driver to set their own experience cost. They decide what their experience cost is. Let's say I'm a great personality. I love talking. I want to talk in the car, talk about the Jays game in the playoffs a couple weeks back. So if I'm a more attractive person, I think my experience costs more. Whereas if I just want to sit down in the car and go from point A to point B, not a very social person, then relatively my social cost, in my opinion, would be less, right? So at first, we want to start off with a uniform social cost. And once we get more interest going, then we can give the drivers the ability to set their own experience cost, right? And that, like, let's say, I really love cars. So let's say I want to drive in, I don't know, a really nice Mustang, right? I would be willing to pay that experience cost and that increased cost of the trip. Because you have to remember, just because a Mustang looks nicer, its gas mileage is more too, right? So my total cost of the trip will be more expensive. So that's where we hope to take this further. But at first, we want to start off with the level.
or that you're gonna end up having a scale rate.
Yeah.
Depending on gas mileage per car. Now you ended up mentioning people being able to post their experiences on your social media sites. How do you, like, how have you thought about bad reviews or inappropriate posts, and how do you plan to tackle that? Is there going to be a screening process?
Yeah, so let me tell you a bit about like the sign-up process, how a driver signs up. So first they put in their driver's license number, and from that driver's license number, we can pull their insurance information about they've had X amount of years with this license type. They've been in this X amount of accidents over the last X amount of years. And from that, we do an on-site screening process that says, hey, are you eligible or not, right off the bat. Because once you put in your insurance information and your license number, we can pull what kind of car you drive, all that stuff that pertains to safety and liability, most importantly. And from that, we kind of hope to like build further and auto-populate the car information and the gas mileage, all that stuff. So definitely, yeah.
Okay, so then you mentioned building profiles for customers.
Yeah.
To be able to go on.
Yeah.
Have you considered building profiles for drivers so that people can have a range of people to pick from?
Yeah. So when you sign up, you're nor a driver nor a passenger. Well, sorry, you're nor a driver nor a passenger. You're a user, right? Okay. And then if you're looking for a ride, you're a passenger. If you're going on a ride, you're a driver, right? So everybody will have a social portfolio, you can call it, right? And there will be a review system, so you can leave a review for the driver. You can add tips if you want. And most importantly, the thing that we're trying to pitch is the social experience. You're not going from point A to point B as commuting. You're going for more of an experience.
Okay. Now you were talking about breakdowns, things like that. So let's say if I end up signing up and I want to end up going to Toronto, and there's a breakdown in the car, and I'm at the side of the road with the driver, and it's going to have to get towed to a local shop, and I'm stranded. How do you end up planning to deal with customer experience when it ends up coming to breakdowns, flat tires, things like that?
So once, first of all, we'll start with like the car screening process. So if your carbon emissions are above this certain rate, we would prefer that you not take people. We'll look at emissions testing, all that stuff, first to see if the car is a viable option to travel whatever distances that you're going. So that's the main thing we're going to start off is the screening process. We want it to be very quick and very efficient. So like if I know I have a 89 Chevy Cobalt, right? I know it can't get from St. Catharines to Ottawa. It might break down on the way, right? So if something were to happen to a car, the driver would incur the cost, but we would also give the passengers kind of like, oh, hey, sorry, this kind of happened. We would reimburse their cost of their trip. So wherever they got to, we would reimburse them. And then they can then use that money to take a local taxi or Greyhound or Coach Canada or whatever.
Okay, what if the cost for the customer is larger than the cost that they had originally paid for the trip? Based on having to take a taxi to a bus station and then end up taking a ground. Let's say it breaks down in Mississauga. So then you end up automatically refunding them. They take the taxi to the local Greyhound station, then they take the Greyhound to Ottawa, and that ends up being more expensive than their trip. So now you've ended up costing them more money than they had originally anticipated.
Yeah, so we would incur that cost because the main thing that we're trying to pitch is trying to get trust. Yeah. So if they did have a bad experience the first time and because inconvenience is one thing, but money is another big thing, especially with students. Money is huge, affordability. So if we can incur their cost of getting from point A to point B, then that would give them more of an incentive to try us again. Because if they had a bad experience the first time, we made up for it, and it would encourage them to maybe try again, right? Maybe choose a better car this time.
Now let's say if someone ends up having a real bad experience, say if there's an accident, someone dies, God forbid, but or something ends up happening with the driver, like you said, you've got the the app that the panic button.
Yep.
Is a great idea. But have you considered how you would end up dealing with a tragedy or a bad experience from a public relations standpoint?
So the biggest thing is we're trying to prevent that by building a trust network with local authorities. If we're going on a longer trip from Toronto to Ottawa, we want to be sure that OPP is aware of this service that's being provided from Toronto to Ottawa. And maybe not specific drivers, but if a certain emergency happens where, let's say, a driver goes through something traumatic, or let's say there's an accident, we want to make sure that the authorities are able to respond quickly and accurately, right? A lot of the bad experiences that you hear in other social commuting services is the inability for the provider of the platform to respond quickly. And that's what we're trying to prevent by building a trust network with local authorities.
This is my last question for you. Now, you had put the post from Shane, and I mentioned like the social economic impacts of poor transportation in the Niagara region. Have you considered that as part of your marketing plan for BP?
Definitely. Within the Niagara region, eco-sustainability is huge. Reducing carbon emissions is huge, and that's one whole marketing aspect of our platform. Is we want to make sure that when you, like, let's say when you want to schedule a trip, it'll give you the approximate cost of the carbon emissions that your carbon footprint. It'll show you what kind of carbon footprint you're reducing or that you're creating by going on this trip, and that's incorporated into our whole marketing aspect. So that's when we go to these conferences, when we pitch to other universities, other schools, whether it be in the Niagara region or outside, we want to focus on your environmental impact right away.
But I'm like, okay, so the reduced carbon footprint is great, but I'm talking more about poverty reduction by being able to get people to work when they couldn't before, and what that will mean for like business in the Niagara region.
Oh, just taking Shane's quote right away is we're losing a lot of talent because a lot of the hot jobs, like the hotbed of jobs, is mostly in the GTA, especially in Toronto. For me, living in St. Catharines, having to commute alone, perhaps, or because there's no coaching service as of yet, to commute to Toronto is really tedious, and it's really like it's a burden, right? So if we can connect people with similar interests, maybe going to the same, like they work in like neighboring buildings, connect them so that they can go on this trip together. That'll really help reduce like the burden of commuting, one, and two, what we're really trying to pitch is a social aspect. So you might make a friend along the way because you guys have similar interests, right? That's how friendships start, is with a shared interest.
Thank you very much. That's it.
We got one question in the back right there.
Okay, so I had a question as well about the security feature that you're like implementing into the app.
Yep.
I think the thing about ride sharing that scares people is the fact that you're getting in the car with a stranger. And the panic button to me doesn't make too much sense, because if there is an incident, like if there's an accident and those kind of scenarios like flat and something like that, it makes a lot of sense. But if you get into a car with someone that's intending to harm you, and then you panic, in an ideal situation, it takes 2 minutes to respond to that call. A lot can happen in that time.
Okay.
So things that Uber has in place that makes them so desirable right now is that they screen their drivers, which is not even the important part. The important part is they have that person's name and their car description. Well, you obviously have that as well.
Yep.
But they have their like license information.
We would have that as well.
Okay, I was just
And
wondering.
we would have
if
their
you could
license
test that.
information. We would have their driver's license number, not really their license plate number, because you can pull that from that other information, and we would have their insurance number. Then you can also pull car information from your insurance number. So that's how we would do that. And second thing is, we want to get away from that notion of you're getting into a car with a stranger.
Right.
Right? Because by having similar interests, you kind of build trust with this person. Right? So you know the person before you're getting in the ride with them. And one big thing that builds off of that is you might be like, oh, I don't want this person stalking me afterwards, right? So we make sure that, let's say you're getting in a car with somebody, you know their first name, last initial. That's it. You don't know their full name. There's also going to be a chat group before you leave or while you're driving, so where you can discuss and get to know one another better, right? So let's say I'm going from X to Y, and I want to listen to the hockey game that's on Fan 590, right? So I would request the driver, hey, do you mind if you listen to this station? I really like hockey like you do too. And who knows, it might be our rival teams playing against each other, right?
Right.
So we're trying to build that whole, get away from the, I'm getting in a car with a stranger, right?
I have two questions. So say you get a driver to go to Ottawa from St. Catharines, right? And they drop off the individual in Ottawa. And would you refund the cost for them coming back to St. Catharines, or how would that work?
So the thing is, these drivers are already going on a trip from Mississauga to Ottawa. We're not incentivizing them by giving them money to say drive people to and from. And the biggest thing is the Ontario Public Safety Act states that you can't have a car, like a licensed car, that travels more than so you can go to a destination and come back, but not back there again. So that's what differentiates us from Uber is Uber drivers go out of their way to drop people, right? We're not providing a taxi service. I'm already going to Mississauga at home on this weekend. It'd be very nice to have people come along with me, split my cost of the trip, us share similar interests and get to know one another better, right? Especially this is really good for first year students because they don't really have a lot of friends coming into the university, right? And using the service to get back home to where, a lot of people live at home, right? So having that network at home, that trust, they want to come home on the weekends. But like I showed you, there's very poor alternatives. So with this service, they'll one, get to know people, two, it'll be a lot cheaper, and three, it'll drop them a lot closer. It'll be customized drop-offs, right? As opposed to, I'm gonna drop you at this terminal that's fixed by Greyhound or Portage Canada.
So say I'm going to home from Mississauga, okay?
Yep.
And I'm going home on Friday. Could I just sign up Friday morning? Say
Yep.
So the screening process is pretty fast.
Yeah, it's very fast. It's within stuff like car information will be instant, but driver, accidents and how many years you've been driving under what license type will take 5 to 10 minutes to fetch from public servers, right?
Okay. So I guess I would just drop off that person then, right?
Yep. And the thing is, we're trying to get you to sign up as early as you can. So if you're driving, then we want you to sign up as early as you can so that you split the cost and you make more on the experience pricing model.
Okay. And then I just have one more question. So I guess if you're going from Brock to, because you said in phase one you want to just do Brock and Niagara, right?
Yep.
And say I'm going from here to Mississauga.
Yep.
Would the OPP be known for, would you contact everyone?
No.
And
So we want to make sure that local authorities know that a service like this is going on. The only time that the OPP or local authorities, let's say you're on the 406, right, and something happens there, we're not going to call OPP. We're going to call Niagara Regional Police. That's their jurisdiction, right? So we want to make sure that local authorities know that this service is operational, one, and two, if something were to happen, that the local authority can respond as soon as possible. Somewhere on the 401 where it's a huge stretch of just highway of land, you're crossing multiple cities, OPP would be more suitable for that. So that was just the example that I used.
Sorry, I just want to ask one. You've been having a lot of questions. I just want to talk about the contingency factor. So say the car breaks down or something.
Yep.
And it seems like your contingency factor is right now that they would have to go to a taxi or a local bus station and then go from there to the final destination. Have you ever thought about maybe once you get a little bit more money into the business and it's profitable, having your own 1 or 2 fleet of cars where if something does break down, it can rush out, or having another GPS driver just immediately rush to that situation to continue that destination? Have you thought about that? Other than going to
looked at my business model because this is something that I'm glad you pointed this up because this is something we're definitely thinking of building later on. Based on our financial margins.
I might have missed it. I'm not sure if I missed that.
No. Based on our financial, because this is in the future. I didn't present this in our model right now because we haven't reached that state yet.
Oh.
Once we expand past the Brock Niagara region, then we start making revenue after our first year. So our first year is our break-even point. We've estimated that if we can give 2,800 rides in our first year, minimum of 2 passengers on average, traveling a distance of 100 kilometers, we'll break even in our first year. And some of the costs in our first year include patents because I'm trying to get my security algorithm patented. So that's our biggest sink when it comes to costs. 2 is developing, but I'm a developer myself. I'm in computer science, so that part becomes a lot easier for me. I don't have to hire somebody to develop this platform. I don't have to hire somebody to take a look at my algorithm. So a lot of the infrastructure is already taken care of, right? Servers are very cheap. I can run an at-home server, get a Rogers business line, bam, I got a running server at home, right? So that is something definitely we're looking into. Once we start making large sums of revenue, that we have I don't call it a taxi service, but a shuttle to drop you where you're.
Yeah, because it's just the convenience factor. Instead of them having to go to the bus station, it's just within 5 minutes, I know the car's gonna be there, get me to my destination. Only 5-minute time delay. Instead of busing to the bus station and taking the bus and all that cost and stuff.
And the second thing is that'll come later down the road, but I never thought of it, but that's a great idea of if like I'd say I'm stuck on a ride from Toronto to Mississauga, 3 people or 2 people, and there's somebody else that's going alone, then hey, why don't you pick up these 2 people as well on your way? I like that idea.
It just as a contingency, like
Yeah,
emergency.
that's a great idea. Elton?
I just had one more question. I was wondering what happens in a scenario where someone feels like they're not obligated to like follow through. So like, what if someone realizes they have an exam coming up that they totally forgot about in a student, and then they have to back out last minute? Or what if they don't even inform the other person and they're depending on that ride? How do we deal with like a situation?
So there's a late cancellation fee, or AKA no-show fee,
Oh, okay.
so that they would be charged. So when you sign up, you can preload your account, because not a lot of students have credit cards. So you can either preload your account or sync up a MasterCard, Visa card, Visa debit card to your account, and that's where that transaction happens.
Just going off that question. So say the driver just doesn't show up. You charge the driver $5 for them not showing up.
10. Yeah, because the driver has more of a burden because they have the social responsibility of taking other people. So there's people relying on them. So we will charge them a very hefty fee as in comparison to the driver, right? So if I don't show up, what does the driver lose? He loses that seat, and that's it, right? So the cost is less for a passenger to no show, but the cost is more for a driver.
So do you try and find another car for those individuals, or are they kind of stuck?
Oh, they can go back on the platform and see if there's anybody else leaving like later that day, right? And there will be like a chat service. So if you're chatting on the app with the driver that's leaving, let's say today at like 7 p.m. and he's not responding and something's wrong, you can back out by all means, right? Back out and choose a different one.
Well, one last one. Sorry.
This is the last question after this too. We're already running short.
Yeah, guys, feel free to like approach me afterwards if you guys have any more questions.
I just want to know how many people are working on this with you right now, and how many people will you incorporate to end up joining the company?
So right now, I thought of this idea on my own. I started writing the security algorithm on my own. The pictures that you saw were actual mock-ups of a working platform. We just haven't launched it because we're still like refining it. I did win kickoff weekend this past week, and I do have a group of 6, myself included. But we're gonna have a team meeting, so not everybody might commit to that. But we do have a Niagara College ambassador who's interested in being like the Niagara College ambassador for our group. I also have a friend who's interested in being the University of Waterloo's campus ambassador for our platform. So right now it's about generating interest and getting people excited about this idea of the social experience.
Thank you so much.
All right, last presentation of the day, guys.
Yo, Omar, I wrap it up on like 5:30.
Yeah, I wasn't planning on taking any longer.
Hi. Man's like, it's getting hot in here.
No, it's okay. Doing some stuff plugging.
Yeah, good job. Yeah, but like, yeah, that emergency fleet would be.
I sat down, but like the one guy is already going on the way. Okay, there's 2 people that are stranded. So pick them up.
Yeah, that's what people would like. Not like if they had to go to the bus station, wait for the bus. I've bussed for like years. I know like not every bus runs exactly on time.
The biggest thing is
Yours is your model is basically based on all of the needs. You're even exact to
convenience and social experience. That's the biggest thing.
but that's convenience.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? So at the root of your model is all convenience. Like, because it's convenient for me to talk about this person about the James.
It's cheaper. It's conveniently cheaper for you to do the same thing too, right?
Yeah.
So that's the main thing we're focusing on. Is like money is a big thing too for students.
So your whole model is based on convenience. So convenience based on that would be.
You missed my pitch.
No, man, I'm gonna watch it after.
No, you missed everything. You fucked.
Adam, hey, how's it going?
I don't have to watch my life.
Yeah, something flashy.
Yo, bro, like, we gotta start this.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Oh, this is awesome. Great.
They're made for that song.
Oh, damn.
Joseph. when does it expire?
Excuse me. Thank you.
I'll do that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you guys ready?
Yeah, thanks. Any more questions?
Anybody else got anything?
No.
Yeah.
We're good?
Yeah.
Ayo, you guys are ready? Yo, guys.
Thank you. Oh, we'll introduce it.
Anyone else?
My name.
It's Bailey North.
Alright, so what's in your water? In the right place, pharmaceutical drugs are amazing chemicals that have the ability to prevent, control, and sometimes even cure illnesses and diseases. They truly save lives and are a growing industry for the years coming. However, the oversight of the removal of these exact pharmaceutical drugs is what has brought us to you today. So good afternoon, or good evening at this point. My name is Harpreet, and these are my colleagues Shubham and Izzy. And we're here to show you that there is more to water than meets the eye. So what do you think is in this water bottle? It looks like water, smells like water, and even tastes like water. But you gotta ask yourself, is it only water? Currently, Health Canada has 3 parameters for testing water: microbiological, radiological, and chemical and physical. While these 3 parameters are a very good starting point, they certainly don't account for everything. The CDC itself has reported that over 80,000 types of different chemicals are found in our drinking water today before the filtration process. Researchers at McGill University have discovered traces of prescription and illicit drugs such as cocaine and oxycodone in Ontario wastewater by Waterloo and Kitchener.
Another research done in 2013 determined that the levels of pharmaceutical drugs in our Great Lakes have reached a level that's of good environmental concern. A big environmental concern. Due to the aging population of baby boomers, as well as the rise of pharmaceutical drugs in the population, this industry is supposed to grow at a rate between 10 to 15%. Fortunately, thanks to numerous studies done by multiple organizations, as well as the rise of new technology, we can confidently say that there's more than water inside this bottle. So right now, I invite you guys to listen to a short TED Talk by Jonathan Larson. He's a professor, Larson, sorry. And he's a professor at the University of Gothenburg. He studied the relationship between pharmaceutical drugs and long-term low exposure to them into the ecosystem.
What you see here is a testicle from a roach, a common European freshwater fish. You see all the developing sperm cells, and in the middle, you see an egg cell. That shouldn't be there. These feminized
Just wanted to confirm, can everyone hear at the back?
Yeah.
Okay.
male fish can sometimes be found downstream from sewage treatment plants. Synthetic estrogen, the female sex hormone, excreted from women taking contraceptives, is thought to be a major cause behind this feminization of fish. A Canadian research team investigated if this hormone also could affect entire ecosystems. So they dosed an entire lake with this hormone from a boat several times a week during several years to a concentration of 5 nanograms per liter. That's just a little bit about what you find in treated sewage effluents. This little fish, the fathead minnow, used to be very common in this lake. But after 3 years of dosing, it was almost completely gone. The hormone had worked as a contraceptive for the fish. Sometimes you get surprised how pharmaceuticals enter the environment. These magnificent vultures.
So, saying all that, why should you care? I mean, for starters, you probably don't want to be drinking these type of drugs and other illegal substances in your water supply. But think about who else it's impacting. Yourself, your family, your future kids, they're all going to be drinking from the same water supply. Just think about the times during the day you're in contact with water. Reflecting on that, you get a really good idea and understanding of how much of these infected water is actually coming in contact with your body. Other things researchers have also found, and that's coming out recently, is that we've had traces of microorganisms, organic chemicals, as well as inorganic chemicals, painkillers,
Antipsychotics.
I'm not the med student. Mood stabilizers and other illegal substances. Studies are, like I said earlier, studies are in the process of being done on this currently. So all the information that we have is very recent.
So this is a meta-analysis of a study that was recently done. Meta-analysis, basically you take a whole bunch of articles with the relating topic and just put it together and put all the findings in one place. So a study done by Elsevier revealed that most research on the effects of pharmaceuticals on our body has been done in the last 8 years. And all the results so far have suggested that low traces of these drugs have a negative health impact on people. So the results only coming in now, there's very little action that is being taken by companies to change the direction of where this is going. So this is where we as entrepreneurs see an opportunity.
Okay, so all the information we've just told you, that seems all daunting. But it's not as bad as you might think right now. There's a lot of ways to clean the water, and probably the most attractive and the most advanced one is called the reverse osmosis filter. This filter works in 3 steps. The first is to filter the water with tiny straws. Then it goes on and sprays this filtered water across sheets of plastic, but they have little holes. And these little holes are so tiny that nearly just the water goes through them. And the last step in this is zapping the water with UV light. So this is the cleanest that we can get with this reverse osmosis. However, this comes with a high cost. So depending on the size of this filter, you can have a cost of up to 1,000 Canadian dollars for this. So clearly you can see it's fairly big if you compare this to a tap. And a lot of people are not willing to sacrifice this amount of space and are not able to pay this high amount of money. And this is where we would like to step in. Our aim is to transform this high-scale technology to a very low scale. And we want it to be a little device which you just add on your tap, and that will do this whole reverse osmosis. So we also want to add an additional filter that is just targeting to reduce the pharmaceutical drugs and the residue that is in the water. So basically, this is our aim to get the cleanest water. However, in our solutions, we still have challenges because we've just been working on this for this weekend. We need to do more research on how to do this. How do we implement this? How do we change this large-scale technology to the small scale that we did at? And also, we don't know that much about the government regulations and all the rules that there are in this industry. So this is where we need to start targeting. So our plan is fairly simple. First, we need seed funding. So hopefully, if we win this competition, we can use that money towards this. And also, we would like to work with the BioLink and the resources that they provide us with. Also, we would like to increase our networking in order to be able to meet those individuals who can help us and gain more knowledge about the market. And what is especially important for us, we want to find out how we can transform this technology to fit the needs that there is. However, we can confidentially say that this reverse osmosis device and the special filter that we would like to implement is the best way to target this problem because we didn't have enough time and there's so many more filters that can be used. However, with the research we have done, we think this is the best and the most effective way to do this. Also, we have to reiterate the fact that this issue needs to be addressed and someone will address it soon. So we are asking the questions, why can't it be us to do that?
So quick market analysis we did over the past weekend led to these results. Politically, this is something that is going to be addressed by all different governments and all around the world. The World Health Organization has already declared this an emerging issue and needs something that needs to be addressed. Economically, we feel that we will have the know-how to eventually create these filters, and this will be a viable business model to generate profit for us. Socially, we're all aware that there's a big trend recently to have more health-conscious options. So we want to capitalize on this trend and create a healthier water. Lastly, and most importantly, we know the technology is readily available for us. We don't necessarily have to do the creation of it. We have to do the innovation and figure out how can we take that technology and put it to a smaller scale for domestic use.
So it all boils down to three things: sustainability, value added, and the positive impact we leave behind. This weekend is about creating a project that is sustainable, and we feel like we've created a framework to achieve this. The filter will be used in future generations, and we are confident that this adds value to general society, ecosystems, and overall preventing disease. Finally, our idea has a positive impact on human health and the environment by essentially removing contaminants for cleaner drinking water. So we propose a simple question in the beginning of the presentation, which is, what is in your water? I'd like to thank everyone for listening, and we'd now like to open the floor for our first question.
We'll let the judges ask the questions first.
Sure. Now, this is a huge issue and one that I'm extremely aware of. So, I know this is just basically kind of in the idea stage right now.
Yep.
Have you done any research into new technologies into water filtration systems?
Specifically for pharmaceutical drugs? No.
So
There's nothing like specifically that does filter for what we're trying to do. Like a lot of the filters that are in the market today do it for cadmium, mercury, taste and smell of chlorine, like all of the general heavy metals, whereas the pharmaceuticals are in smaller doses in your drinking water, and there's nothing.
And just to build on that point as well, a lot of the studies that are being done on this topic have been happening, I think, from 2007 and onwards. So what's really going on is a lot of the studies that are coming in is so recent that people aren't sure if this is actually legitimate as of yet. But every findings that you're getting, they are pointing to the fact that this is going to be a big deal. So we see this as, like we said in our presentation, an opportunity to build something that's going to be needed in the future and in the very near future.
Do you think that there is some sort of technology out there that you can capitalize to end up incorporating this into your business?
I'll take the lead on that one. Great question. I do think there is someone somewhere definitely probably has something started, but just with the time constraint we just literally met each other on Friday. So with the constraint we didn't have the time to necessarily figure out which would be the most viable one and which would be, I guess, the tech industry leader in that field. But we would like to hope that there is, and if not, we want to be the ones to create it.
Now, basically, you just met on Friday and just kind of got this together.
Yep.
Yep.
Now, have you considered any marketing? Because there has been a lot of studies that have been released in the past year about drug levels in water. But have you considered, like, because fluoride is an issue for a lot of people, especially mothers, because of the links to Alzheimer's. Have you considered marketing? Is this like a personal choice to be able to take out things that are in your water?
Yeah.
This is over there.
I will just to address that. I think we can. That's something down the road. Right at the moment, we got to figure out how can we create this filter. Actually, attaining the product in our hands or having some type of prototype is the first step we need to figure out. Like we said, we just met each other on the weekend, so we know this is an opportunity for us to do. And eventually, down the road, we're going to look into marketing, of course. But as of now, it would be, I guess, illogical for us to say this is how we're going to market our product without even having an idea what the product looks like. So, yeah.
To add on to this, of course, we first have to develop the technology to make it available because we want it to be small. We want it to look similar to all the filters that are available right now. And then we want to add this and advertise it. This filter seems the same. It doesn't take up more space, but it has a special feature. And we want it to be seen in the price, that much. There's an additional feature, there's more value created, there has to be a slightly higher price, but we want to make it affordable. So for people who will go to the shop and decide whether they should buy a filter, they are more inclined to buying this filter because for less, like, they have more money to pay, but comparatively, it's less money for so much more value.
So your like primary focus then for the target market is going to end up being more the end consumer instead of the like governments or city water filtration systems to end up. Like, how are you looking to get this in so that you're taking it out of the tap water? Are you actually looking at removing this from the actual water
Rivers,
source?
yeah. Just that we were talking about this over the weekend, and this is a great question. We kind of came up with 3 different target markets for us to target. We have domestic use, governments, and I guess regulators of hydro, as well as schools and universities. So based on all 3 of these things, we decided that domestic use would be the most logical for us. But again, this isn't this until we figure out more of the rules and regulations behind this industry. It'd be very tough for us to explicitly say that this is the right choice. We chose domestic personally because we felt that it's more viable for us to create a product that can physically go in someone's sink and convince them that this is doing so much more than what your regular Brita filter is doing right now. So that's why, as of now, we come up with the domestic customer as our initial target market.
Because if you were to do it in a large scale, you would have to get government agencies involved in all of that, and that takes a long time. And whenever you have those people associated, investors are very afraid to invest their money because they're like, okay, I'm not sure when I'm going to get my money, what's going to happen. So we thought that an individual basis would be like a better option for us as like a starter.
And then within the first year, what do you have you considered how much it would cost for you to start up?
We haven't thought about the costs because, as we said in the presentation, we have to do way more research. We need to know what we're getting ourselves really in. We need to know exactly the competition. We need to find people who maybe have started working on it. We need to know the regulations and the rules and the industry. We need to know exactly where we want to position ourselves, and then we can talk about cost. Because if someone has started developing this new technology or implementing it into the small device, we can pair up. But if not, we have to start from absolute scratch. So then we need to find the people, and that comes with the cost.
And this is where BioLink becomes so effective for us because we can expand our network and connect with different partners in the community and get an idea of what's really going on in this industry.
And the last question is, so if you're not winning the $800 today, how would you end up using it?
So initially we thought this would be used as our seed funding to figure out, okay, if we need to have any travel expenses, budgeting, get a good idea of if we need to go, basically to cover our expenses to figure out if we're going out of town and learning something about our product to cover that.
And also to actually figure out what exact technology we need to filter out those pharmaceuticals.
I think it's a great idea because the drugs are actually making us evolve as a species, right?
Exactly.
I said, I know you had a question at the back.
Okay, let's say, great presentation by the way.
Thank you.
Let's say you guys do have the technology, you have the product, it's ready to go to the market. Have you guys considered changing your target market? So I know you want to keep the product domestic.
Yep.
And have it in homes here.
Yep.
But do you guys have like a death count of people that have died from the chemicals in the water?
No, as gruesome as that sounds, I'll give you this. The study that Jocelyn saw, the TED Talk,
Right.
what he's talking about. So they also took a look at frogs in that ecosystem. So frogs in that ecosystem grew, I think, at a rate 40% less than normal size. So the issue is that all these studies are coming in right now. This is long-term, low exposure to pharmaceutical drugs.
Right.
So as the studies are coming in, you're going to start seeing like this is what's actually like you said, this is what's changing our species. So for a study to just say like 10,000 people died today, to be perfectly honest, it might be just completely bogus. And it takes a long time to figure out this is going to be a process, but it's begun, and we're seeing signs within animals in that ecosystem that it's changing them. So there's no doubt in my mind that it's changing us as well.
my point is like, if someone's gonna spend their money to buy your product.
Yep.
And you said it's gonna take a long time for those effects to take place.
Yep.
It's probably gonna take a long time for you to get your money.
Well, why do you buy a water filter? You know that there are contaminants in your water filter. We target that exact population that wanna look out for their kids, look out for their own health. So even if like the littlest thing can help them, they'll go that way. Why do people buy organic food? Because it's healthier.
I guess
Right.
not a question, but a suggestion. Do you think you guys would be more successful if you have a product ready?
Yeah.
To take it to a different demographic, say people that don't have clean drinking water? Or
That would be a great idea as well, but then the issue becomes, in that situation, is our filter doing enough? Because we're concerned with the pharmaceutical drugs. So now, if the water supply there is, let's just say they have more stuff that we aren't necessarily, our filter can't filter out, then that becomes an issue as well. So again, completely open to it, but until we have the product, it'd be very tough for us to justify one demographic over the other.
Thank you. Great job, guys.
Well, I just have a quick question.
Yep.
Do you guys have any intellectual property on this? Like, is this like something that, like, what prevents you from taking your idea to just paste and going off it? Like, is there some?
Please don't do it.
Please.
No. I'm not a science guy, but like, is there any?
We just came up with this idea, so we have nothing.
Yeah.
Like,
But do you guys see a future in?
Yes.
yes,
Yeah.
because it is an emerging like topic, like he is aware of it, but I'm assuming that none of you guys were. So
And-
this were, yeah.
To be perfectly honest, when she brought it up to me, I literally just Googled pharmaceutical drugs in my water. And you guys, no, but take a look, and it surprised me for sure. Like the amount of studies that are coming out, and you're just like, holy crap, like this is 2012, 2013, this is really recent. And this is what's coming in, like this is the water I'm drinking. And this is what's in it. Okay, come on, it definitely opened my eyes for sure.
Think about how often during the day are you in contact with water?
Mhm.
How often you wash your hands, you drink something, you shower,
Yeah.
everything. You are in contact with water so much and it's contaminated. So just think about what kind of like exposure you have.
Like I had a conversation with someone once, and I was talking about the differences between like fat soluble and water soluble, and how like the overuse of like drugs, if you take like too many drugs, which usually is happening today, people just pee it out. That goes back into the ecosystem, right? That's our main concern, to clean that out.
Sorry, Deb, you gotta get things rolling.
All right, cool. But this wasn't a question. It was just saying, like, in Alberta. In Alberta, like, I know this is a big thing. Like, the water is contaminated. Like, there was a video on I seen where like the guy put a lighter to his water coming out of his faucet, and it was like going on fire because there was oil in the water.
Yeah.
And like, so yeah, it is a big thing.
Well,
You guys are pitching a first mover strategy, which is cool. So.